You know, it's interesting about the word Illuminati and how it is really caught on with the younger generation and the way in which the word is being used. And when we look at the origin of the word and we look at the concept of it, when we're dealing with the Illuminati, we're not dealing necessarily with an organization. We're dealing with a group of people who had sat at the feet of Africans, who we call the Moors. As the years went on, the people caught on. The peoples of Spain and parts of France and Europe caught on to this new way of living.
And this is another reason why Masonry, for the most part, is given a negative connotation, so that people don't really examine its origin or what's actually behind it, etc. Also why many things are just told in sign, symbol, and allegorical stories. This is to keep the people disconnected. But it also demonstrates the fact that people don't talk about it. It represents the fact of them deliberately avoiding it, and that they're avoiding it is not without circumstance, not without motive.
It's important for us to understand that the word Illuminati represented a group of scientists that sat at the feet of Africans and studied the wisdom of Africa, of Kemet, of the ancient wisdom of the science of West Africa, Northwest Africa, Central Africa, Southern Africa. And they brought it into Europe. All of these individuals studied at the feet of Africans and African-inspired scholars. But because of the rise of the church, they became outlaws. They pushed the idea of science, and the church did everything they could to destroy the fabric of bringing that knowledge into Europe. And so these illumined ones had to go underground, and they became an underground society that perpetuated the study of the soul science of ancient Kemet.
Illuminati means to illuminate. The ones that are afraid of the light is the ones that don't have the light. See what I'm saying? The ones that don't have the light are the ones that are afraid of the light. If you have the light, you let your light shine. Illuminati means to illuminate. So illuminate the ones that's walking in darkness, and that's our people's problem. They're walking in darkness, basically.
And when we understand this, we can see that the structures that we see today, from the Empire State Building, from the so-called Washington Monument to Cleopatra's Needle, when you go into the museums and you see the obelisks, or what the Africans call the Tekenu, you can see these structures. Even when you look at the structures and the symbols of the major religions, you will see that they came all out of Africa. Whether it is the crescent moon and stars of Islam, whether it is the inverted pyramids that was known to the ancient world as the Star of Ast, now known as the Star of David, sacred symbol, whether we are dealing with a cross, we are dealing with African symbols.
As a teacher, I have a lot of students that come to me and say, "Ms. Potter, you're wearing the evil eye. That's the Illuminati symbol." I said, "No. This is an ancient Kemetic symbol that existed thousands and thousands of years before any concept of Illuminati as it relates to the European or Caucasian." So again, it goes back to the whole idea of symbolism that empowers you.
When you're looking at the Eye of Horus, you're symbolically talking about the activation of the pineal gland, activation of the chakras, etc. So the activation of the chakras is referred to as nirvana, the ascension, kundalini, etc., etc. And you have to keep in mind, one of the things that Europeans have always done has been to steal our legacy or our culture. Now, because they have a negative agenda, you understand, with Adam Weishaupt, etc., and they set up the Illuminati, that's really, they're taking the honor of ancient Asiatic African culture, of spiritual, or what you'll call the body development, and the activation of the pineal gland, and put what you call a negative spin on it.
They were talking about trying to gain power and control. Every generation in every community, there's somebody trying to gain power and control. The Illuminati is nothing more in the general sense that white people trying to maintain power and control over the wealth in America and the world. And music produces trillions of dollars every year. And somebody wants to control those monies and direct it to their community's interests and not your meaning the black community interest. Who's going to get the rewards and the capital from the music that's being produced out of the consciousness of black people across the world? And they've played us for almost a century now in regards to our music. And we have enriched their communities beyond measure. And yet we still try to look at them in some box called Illuminati. See them for what they are.
Keep in mind that for persons to rule and to really be capable of exercising such powers, they must know the real truth of the human condition. Thus, this is again why all persons in positions of power must be Masons.
It's the lawyers, it's the judges, it's the politicians, it's the school teachers, it's the union head, it's the doctors. They're incomplicit with one another around the subjugation of black people, just as they were in slavery. It wasn't a group of little white folks on the corner doing slavery. It was the entire white population involved in the process in different levels. And that's the same thing today with using our music as another form of enslavement. And knowing that music creates human beings, meaning that music creates the consciousness, creates the information formulation that human beings use to make decisions. And so by controlling the lyrics, by controlling the dialogue in the music that our psyche absorbs, because it comes in a vehicle of African rhythms, they're able to still subjugate us as they did physically in slavery. And hip-hop freed us from a lot of that, and it's still freeing us. But the brothers and sisters in the hip-hop industry must elevate their consciousness so they don't get bamboozled and fooled to think this is them or about them.